Well, oh, do we have enough of us?
Probably, or if you want to hold on just a second, I'm gonna go over here to my email program and just check and make sure I didn't get anything from anyone.
Okay.
Just hold on just a second. I mean, you guys can keep talking. I'm just not
Well,
gonna look for a
Actually,
minute.
one is Linda, is she actually on the committee or not? Because I don't recall her actually being added as a actual member of the committee.
No, she's not an official member. And we had talked about this about a year ago. Hold on just a second.
I bet you that would be news to her because I think she really believes that she is a member. She, we asked her, do you want to be a member? And she said, yeah.
All we need to do is confirm that she wants to be, and the board just has to.
No, so they actually will have to change town code. If you guys all want her, and I know we talked about this like a year ago and everybody said yes, and she wants to be, then the town board would have to decide to change the town code. But there's a couple issues with what's in the code for the ag committee versus how the committee was actually created. There's always been some weird discrepancies, and I've talked to Doug and we're not really sure how to fix it. And I guess when we have time, the ordinance committee is just going to have to take a look and decide how to fix it and let the town board make a decision. It's just funky how it got started, like the town code. Sorry. Okay, I just went through my email and I don't have anything that's from anyone. And I checked the email I sent today with the link reminder for today with our recurring meeting, and it's the same. I mean, it's the same. So I'm not sure what happened, Gary. I'm sorry you had trouble.
Oh, no, no problem. As a matter of fact, Sarah, there was two of them that came out from you at 5:45. The first one had a different number on it altogether. And the other one had the number that I used last meeting in the February meeting. And then I went back to it again, and that all of a sudden that one disappeared. So I
sent an email at like noon today, and then I sent Gary, I just sent you one at 6 o'clock with the link from the video.
Yeah.
I didn't send anything at 5:45. So I don't know. That might have been, I did send the CIC one too earlier today.
The first three digits on that, it seems like it was 900 and something for the identification number, but I went back to look at it again. Like I said, it was completely gone.
I don't know.
From the town website.
So anyway, to go back to the thing about the town code, it's funny because so the code says one thing, but then when the town board resolution was written back in 2017, when we created the ag committee, it was worded differently. So the committee has never really been established the way that it was written in town code. So, cause like we had, I think in code, it's written that there's 5 members, but with the resolution, there were 6, and one of them was like an alternate or something like that. And I don't remember why it was done that way, but it was. But that's not how it's written in town code. But that's the way the town board established it. So it's like, well, what do you do? And technically, you're supposed to all be town residents, and Gary Jones isn't, but he's an official member because the town board appointed him to the committee, So, and then it's like, I don't know. And Linda really wants to be, and she's a good asset to the committee, but now we'll have too many members, so.
Well, Ray Henry's no longer a town resident either.
Right.
He's a member, right?
Yeah, he's still a member, but yeah, right. He's not a resident anymore. So we got to figure it out. Like, how many members should there be? Should there be a rule about residency? I kind of don't feel like it matters. I mean, if you're interested in farming in this area, as long as you're willing to work on the town's, goals and vision for farming, I guess it doesn't really matter if you don't live here.
So would it help if we made a request of some of these changes, or or doesn't it matter?
You could, I mean, maybe that's something to look at one meeting, you know, we can look through what the town code says and then, you know, take a poke at it and
Can
make
we,
a
since we don't
request.
have many here tonight, should we plan on that for next meeting?
Sure.
Just give you
And
some
the chairperson of the ordinance committee happens to be a member of the ag committee. Gary.
I know what you're.
I know,
I'm
you were
thinking-
quiet.
As you were coming up with all that stuff, I'm thinking she's getting like Doug, loading us up on the ordinance committee.
So
Yeah, but you know, it might actually work out okay. I mean, if this committee picks it apart and takes a look at it and makes a recommendation, you guys could do a lot of the work for the ordinance committee. And then at the ordinance committee, you guys just have to decide if you agree, you know, if you think it's a good enough idea or worth making any changes.
Do we have any official capacity to do that, though? It's not
No.
within our, I mean.
You can make a recommendation.
Make
I mean,
recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, the official process would be that I would receive a written request from the ag committee, and I email it to the chair of the ordinance committee, which happens to be Gary, and they can decide whether or not to put it on an agenda. And then the other members of the ordinance committee, you know, typically what they do, and Gary, you can chime in, is, you know, they go over what, you know, what the code says and what the ideas are for changing it, and they kind of discuss it, and if it seems
But-
valid and, you know, the change is needed, then, you know, they can recommend it to the town board if they so choose.
I would like the ag committee to come forward with, you know, the recommendations. It'd make it much easier to go through the ordinance committee if it
Yeah.
came from the ag committee instead of the, you know, the ordinance committee deciding what the ag committee should be.
Well,
Yeah, I
what do we
agree.
What do we want to be? I guess that's the question, you know, for when we have more people present.
Yeah,
Well, if we have too many people, we might never be able to get a quorum.
that's true.
That could
Does the required number go up with the membership? Like, would the quorum be higher?
Oh, yeah.
Really? So, okay, because in my mind, I was like, oh, well, then it would give you a bigger buffer. So when someone doesn't show up, it won't matter as much. But I guess that wouldn't be true. I don't know much about meetings
Well,
rules.
what you could do in the meantime is maybe have, you know, the late Linda be the alternate, because it will take several months to probably, you know, 3 or 4 anyways, to get things through the process, depending on how quick the ag committee comes to the ordinance committee and goes from there, because we have to send it to other committees to have them review it.
Well, that's the funny thing, is that the town code doesn't even provide for an alternate for the ag committee. It got
Gosh,
kind of,
I
it
was
got made
thinking
up.
that's the way it was. Tim, you started out with it. I'm a charter member. Aren't you a charter member?
Yes.
I thought we had 5 with 1 alternate from the get-go.
That's what the resolution said, but that's not
Okay.
what town code says.
Oh, okay.
And Doug and I can't remember how that happened. You know, how, like, I guess it's a mistake, but how it was made. And it was something in between, you know, when the code was written and submitted. You know, there was a discrepancy between that and then the resolution, so it's kind of interesting. It's been like that for a while, and we noticed it about a year ago, and because we didn't even notice it right away. We don't typically look at the town code unless there's an issue, you know, or a question, but no one ever asked the question, so we never looked.
Do we want to ask the question?
Sure. I mean, I brought it up to Doug about a year ago, and he said, yeah, we need to do something about it, but it hasn't been like a super high priority. And then I brought it up again this last December, because it's usually because the town board reappoints the committees every January in their organizational meeting. And so it reminded me, oh yeah, that's right, the number is different. And but you know, if any of you have been following drama with town lately, you know, really busy. So he said, yes, I know, I still remember, but you know, it's gonna have to wait a little while. There's just a lot happening right now, so. But I mean, I think it's something we can bring up this year, maybe. I don't know, how many things do you guys have lined up in ordinance, Gary?
It,
Sounds like
lot.
sounds like a lot of bureaucracy for a simple change.
Well,
I
you know,
know.
it's town law, so it's not simple. We have to recommend, you know, language to change the law, and then the law has to be put before the town board, and then they have to approve it, and then we have to send the new language to the company that that keeps our laws. We have a website where they're all kept, so it's a process, and it ends up costing money too.
So with all the votes, even with the members that are non-members in the voting process, and we're you know, putting that into an official document of our report, are we breaking town law by doing so?
No, because I don't count Linda's vote because hers doesn't count.
Besides anything we really voted on,
I
anything.
mean,
that we
hers
really
doesn't
voted
count
on.
officially. I should say, you know, she can't officially vote on anything. But I know, you know, her opinion is taken into consideration.
Have
But
we,
everybody else is an official member or an official alternate, which was Ray in his position. I think it's still written that way now.
have we ever had anybody decline or you know, not vote? I think most of our votes have been pretty much unanimous across the board.
Yeah, you guys tend to just wait till you all agree on something and then just vote that way. I think if I look back, I can't remember a time when one of you said no and the others said yes, or the other way around.
Parliamentary town rules. So let's, since nobody else is joining us tonight, I say that we should go ahead and start so we can finish.
So we do have a quorum then, right, Sarah? Because there's 3 voting members.
Probably, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with
Fine.
the Roberts rules very well. I'd have to look it up. But I don't think there's anything you really have to vote on. There's no referrals. But what I did bring up is the revised goal from the the comp plan that Eric edited for you guys. And since you've already seen it, you know, I don't imagine it'll take you too long, but I'm going to share the screen and show you what he's put together.
So it's finalized, or it's just
No, but it's been revised. So the draft, you know, went to all the committees, and you guys all, you know, took it apart and put it back together again with your own goals. And then we sent all that stuff to Eric, and he's finally had a chance to incorporate all that. So he didn't change the existing conditions. He's just been working on all of these, the individual goals. So it's revised as of, I think, last week. And now it's at the point where we can send these goals back to the committees like yours, so you can see if you agree. I mean, and you ought to agree, because he basically put in what you guys all said, you know? And then there'll be kind of a second review. And then I guess, you know, if everybody says they like it, then it'll be ready to go for public hearing and to the town board to get adopted. Although there probably will be some sort of public participation, whether it's some sort of a workshop or a presentation, so that we can give the public a better chance to kind of take a look at it. Because the public hearing format at the town board meetings, we typically, Gary's going to laugh at me, we typically don't get as many people participating in that. The last few meetings we have, but for the comp plan. I think like a more informal workshop where people can just listen and then ask questions. Because with all of our other plans and studies, that's typically what we do towards the end of the process is we hold some sort of a workshop. And in the past, it's usually in person, but lately they've all been Zoom. So anyway, you can all see this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you'll see that, I don't remember if we asked him to change much in the goal. But I know you had several comments on the measurables, and you can see he did take out a bunch of the ones that you guys thought either needed to be consolidated or that weren't necessary. So it's a little bit shorter.
Yeah, because it was 9 to begin with, and 5 now, right?
Yeah, I can
How do we
get back
determine?
to the notes.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask the last bullet, number employed in agricultural operations. How are we gonna determine that?
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to comment on too. I thought we had talked about taking that one off of there. Maybe we did recommend that and they didn't want to. That's very difficult to.
If we can't measure it, why have it in there?
Trying to see, oh, it looks like it took 2 meetings for us to go through this. So I got to go back to the January notes. I'm trying to see what we said.
Certain that was one that we recommended to remove.
I kind of remember that too, but was there something about, like, did someone say if we could get the information, keep it?
Well, on the other one, it said, what I've got here with the comp plan is it said number employed in farming. I think that's what we got rid of.
I just don't know how to measure it, but maybe they know.
Does the county have anything on that?
So my notes from the meeting that we talked about this in January said, just have a question. That maybe the FSA has it or the county. So maybe it got left because we thought maybe we could still get the information. And if we can get it, it might be worth having. But, you know, if thinking about it a couple times now, you don't want it, or you don't think it's a valuable data point.
I think
Well,
that number might be decreasing though, because there are fewer and fewer people involved with agriculture. Is that the point of the bullet?
I guess, I mean, obviously, if you take a look at it now would be your baseline, and then you'd watch it change over time or not change.
And it's going to
So-
decrease no matter what, I would say.
So if you expect it to decrease, would you still be interested in tracking it if you could?
Sure, if we can keep it the same, we're going to be having more land preserved. So if you preserve the land, and you might have to make an estimate on current operations and how farming is currently done. How quickly would that go down, and what is the most that it could go down? Versus would it go down at a lower rate than if it was, if, well, you know what I'm saying.
We have to find out where we get the information. I don't know. FSA could have some of that. I'm not sure if they would or not.
I doubt it.
Don't they have the amount of income is generated each year, Bob, by the farmers?
yeah.
And
Yeah, they
So-
would have a lot of that stuff.
so they should have that too, I would think.
Does
And that-
are these measurables? Do they know where they will measure all this stuff from yet, or is it just?
Well, for example, I think I told Eric that I can't remember. Oh, I wrote it down. Some of these, you guys said you knew where we could get it and that you'd let us know.
Yep. FSA was somebody I mentioned.
Okay, yeah,
Some of it.
yeah. I see that in my notes. It says Farm Service Agency has this data. And that was like acres in ag production. And I think, did you also say that the dollar value, like the production information they had that, or was that from somewhere? Oh, was that from the county?
Well, either, I guess now that, since these are, I'll contact FSA again to make sure that now that we have these specific measurables that are in here, make sure that we can get all that stuff.
Yeah, because we should probably find out, because if it turns out that one of these we can't easily get, we'll want to remove it.
Yep.
Because even if we like the idea of tracking something, if we're not able to get it, then we
I'll
don't want to get
contact
it in
them
there.
within the next week and get back to you on that.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
just
that
to
would be helpful.
confirm
Or do they have
exactly.
a database that I can access online?
I'll find out, or if maybe they'll know if they don't have some of this stuff where we can get it.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we are at the point where we need to decide, or we need to find out if it's available or not. Because yeah, it's not worth keeping it on here if there's no way for us to get it. Because then it just looks like, oh, it's a nice idea, but yeah, sorry, we can't track it.
I just thought of it, and I should have thought of it before. There's another place that might have that information. That'd be the Department of Agriculture and Markets.
I don't think they asked that question though. They're asking more like, how many cows do you have? How many sheep do you have?
And there's some annual reports that I've seen, but they're usually at the county level. So it'd be nice if we can break it down further. All right. So there's one page of action steps. And sorry, I don't have the previous version up, so I only have what it looks like now. But it looks like he did try and fill in some of these responsible entity groups. They weren't really filled in before.
No.
And then I think he went back and tried to relook at some of these priority levels. You want to just kind of browse through them one by one?
Yeah.
I think we need to put something in here about solar panels. I know that we talk about reviewing and revising codes, but it seems to me that between construction and building of home tracks and the demand to put solar panels, and New York State has a law where they need to go to 30% renewable energy by it's 50% by 2030. There's going to be all kinds of pressure coming up. People are just going to say, "Oh, look at all that wonderful wide open land." We got to address that, I think.
Address it more than we do now, you think?
Yes.
Town specifically?
Yeah. I know that we've talked about this before, and Doug has said that there are no laws or regulations regulating solar panels in the town
As
of
it-
Canada.
Yeah, well, we do have a solar law, but it's not, it doesn't say that it's illegal to put solar panels on an agricultural field. Yeah, but what we do now is what you guys have experienced. You know, an application comes in, and as long as it conforms with the regulations the town has in place and the application is complete, if it's on an ag field or near one or in an ag district, you guys get to take a look at it and you get to have a say. And then it goes to the planning board and they, you know, they can see what you guys have said. So right now, the way it is, you know, the ag committee and the planning board are really the judgment there, and the planning board is allowed to use, you know, the plans and studies that we have in place, like our farmland, strategic farmland protection area, you know. So like if they want to do it on a farm field that's currently in production and it would put it out of production, and it's a parcel that falls into the strategic farmland protection area, I don't know what they could do legally to stop it, but they could definitely recommend things, you know. And I don't know how all that works. Because you're right, it's not like there's not a law that says they can't approach a property owner to put it on
I think that
farmland.
needs to be studied. That needs to be studied, and we need to take a look at it, see what other municipalities are doing to address this. And I think it needs to be addressed. Maybe this isn't the venue to be talking about that, but you know, we're talking about lessen development pressures.
So do you think the second action step would cover that?
No, because we're talking about concentrating development. What kind of development are we talking about?
Any?
Any type of, well, that's awfully wide.
Well, the point is that development not happen on farmland, active farmland, right? No matter what the development may be it a house, a Walmart, solar field, or an industrial complex or a housing development. So I mean, I see the step number 2 as saying any kind of development, no matter what it is, if it's going to impact a farm field, we want it to happen somewhere else.
Is that how the town views the word development? Is basically any type of building at all? Not just
Anything that takes vacant land and puts structures on it or changes it is considered development. My understanding anyway. That's how we talk about it.
Could you ask the question and get some type of feedback and response back for us to, you know whether that's actually covered by that statement? Is if, you know, solar panels is covered by this statement?
It would be. It's development. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I'll go with my expert.
I'm not an expert, but that's, I mean, anything that happens on a parcel is development. The only thing that wouldn't be is if you tore down a forest and planted corn, oddly enough. But if you dig up the corn and put in houses, that's development, you know. If you basically anything you do to the land, if you're taking a vacant parcel or a farmed parcel, I mean, I don't really consider a farm field vacant, but and build it, change it. And what they talk about with the growth nodes, that's like the 3 areas in the town that we call our mixed use overlay districts. The main one and the biggest one, of course, being the area of town like where Tops and Tom Walls are, you know, from there north all the way up to the like the Chevy and GMC dealerships up on Thomas Road and 332, that whole section, and that's north to south and then east to west between the airport and Canandaigua Academy. So like that whole section, that's our biggest growth node where we encourage people to go if they want to develop anything, especially anything big. But where there's also some others. So the other area is down near CMAC, along 364 down there. And then the third area and the smallest one is up near Town Line Road and 332. So like near where the Ace Hardware store is, that general area right there is another spot where the town has said that growth is acceptable and encouraged.
Mhm.
So those are the three growth nodes where we want to steer development. But of course, like all the housing development, that's not where they want. The developers don't seem to really want to go there, except for like apartments and stuff. They're more likely to go there. But again, when you think about solar, that doesn't really fit in those areas, but it does fit in all of our industrial zoning districts. And lately, that's where the solar applications have been, most of them. Like the ones you guys saw recently, all down there along County Road 10 and that other road. What's that crossroad by the roundabout? 46?
No, that's 4, I think.
Oh, the one south up there.
Yeah,
can't
that's
remember.
40, that's 46, the other one.
Yeah, so near that area seems to be where all the solar companies want to go. I don't know why, but I guess it kind of works.
Well, that's because they have that substation.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that makes sense. Not to add more to Gary's plate, but Tim, you're talking about what regulations could be developed to restrict solar development as far as town code goes. I mean, that's a bigger one, suggesting changing the town code to actually restrict where they put it. And I don't know how, I guess there's different ways you could do it. You could do it based on the zoning district. You could do it based on like, you could use our, the maps we have with the protection areas for the farming and forest and then the Paddleford Brook Greenway, the buffer area. I guess it could be a combo.
Well, you could just say any place that is not zoned agricultural. It could go there.
Yeah, but there would be people who would disagree.
Of course.
And who would say, well, it shouldn't be in the residential districts either.
But that's who's using the power.
So, it's hard. What we've done before when we're trying to come up with new regulations is we go to other places who already have it.
Yeah.
Who already have one that looks like it's working the way you would envision it to work here.
Mhm.
And we see what they wrote and what their town code says. And in the past, what we've done is we copy that and then edit it to make it work for the town. And that's the proposed draft. Typically is how they come up with it and see if that makes sense to everybody.
Mhm.
And again, same process as before. Then the ordinance committee would take it on and take a look at it and decide if it should go to the town board. I know we've had this conversation before and I can't remember what everybody said, but it never made it anywhere. So I think at the time, no one was willing to take that on. I think it was when solar was first coming to the town. So what we did instead was the solar law that we have now, which basically just designs some regulations, just I think it just has more to do with like size and how they're built and stuff like that. And there's a model law that NYSERDA has, and we took that and edited it. But yeah, it doesn't go too far. So I think this action step provides for you guys to take that route if you thought it was worth it. Actually, this one down here kind of does it too. Doesn't have a lot of teeth. It's guiding and encouraging and discouraging, but it's similar. Actually, is that one so similar that they don't need to both be there? This one here that says encourage continued agricultural use of viable farmland and discourage development of those parcels by directing developers to more appropriate locations within the town, such as the 3 identified growth nodes. Whoa. Sorry, I moved the wrong cursor. And then the that first one says review and revise. Oh no, I guess they are different. One is changing code to make it happen, and the other one is just talking to developers to make it happen. Yep, that's just this page. All right, do you guys think that all the other recommendations you made were incorporated the way you wanted?
Well, from what I can remember.
Are these ranked in any particular order?
No.
No.
Do you think they should be?
Does everybody think? Should they be?
How are you gonna do it?
Well, other than they're priority, primary, secondary.
Oh, yeah, I guess they are.
They do have some ranking to them.
Yeah, they're not in order from top to bottom, but they have been categorized, I guess, based on. So what does he have? Primary, secondary, and ongoing. Is that it? Oh no, there's one that says periodic.
Yeah.
So he's not putting a time frame on these. He's just putting,
The important.
if you had to pick one to do first, which ones would you do? And I guess you would just pick one of the ones that says primary.
It would be, I think it would be more clear if they were sorted in, order of importance.
So like top to bottom
Yes,
on the page.
yes.
We can make that suggestion.
Yeah, or at least all the priority and primary, at least in that order, just so it's easier to look at.
Where do you put ongoing?
How much action needs to be done for ongoing?
I don't know.
I guess when I see ongoing, I assume that means that it's already started. It's already happened, at least, or like it's already gotten started anyway. So it's just something we should continue to do. And then I think of the ones that say primary or a high priority is something we haven't started yet that we really need to do. So I would think the ongoing would be below those things that haven't been started yet.
Yeah.
However, they're still important. So like you wouldn't want to stop doing the ones that say ongoing. But if we're already doing it, then I don't know. Yeah, they could go at the bottom.
Or it could go in, how many ongoings are there?
For you guys, it may just be that one.
3.
There's only
What you have there.
Is it
Because you made some
worthwhile to make a different chart?
What do you mean make a different chart? It would just be reorganizing it.
An ongoing chart? A chart for ongoing activities, because
No, because there's only one.
well, I thought somebody said
I
there were
would just put
three.
it at the bottom.
Yeah, because before we had 3 and it's down to 1 now.
Okay,
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know what some of the other goals, how many of they have, but I think the bottom's fine.
All right. Are we okay to move on from this one?
Yeah. So you guys are done.
That's
If
just that
this
page,
is it,
right?
this is the last, just the one
Yep.
page. Are you pretty much in agreement with the responsible groups? I know you see your own committee pops up on pretty much every single one of them. But the stuff that has to do with any of the other groups, they've added them on there as like additional parties that can assist or take some of the responsibility. Obviously, the ones that have to do with changing town code pretty much gets everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, so for putting the action steps in order of importance from top to bottom, that would go for all the goals. You know, it would change them all. I think it's fine, but I'll talk to the powers that be and see if they all agree too. I think it would make more sense because when you look at it, you kind of wonder why they are in the order that they are. Like if there was a reason.
you know, the second one that we were talking about regarding codes doesn't even have the AAC listed as a primary or a secondary responsible entity.
Probably because you guys would only be the ones to implement getting it started, you know. I mean, I think you can help be more help than that, but in an official capacity. Yeah, well, I don't know. Gary, what do you think? Like with the other committees, like when the Parks Committee made recommendations on the changes to the Parks Code, what did they make the recommendations or did they just say, hey, Ordinance Committee, can you fix it?
No, they come through with a plan,
Okay.
and we're on it now. Doug is revising it based on what the ordinance committee had to discuss about it 3 days ago, and so that should be wrapped up fairly soon. But we went on the suggestions of the ordinance committee to a large degree. Went on the suggestions of what the Parks Committee presented to us.
All right, so that definitely needs to be on there.
You know, I think that when we talk about marketing, what comes to mind is the county fair and and parades and things like that. And we've always been kind of secondary in that. Oksana usually, hopped on that bandwagon and made things happen in a lot of ways.
Not for the fair, but for the parade, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the events responsibility committee, which she chairs.
Yeah, for the parade. It doesn't mean you guys can't be all in.
That's right in the middle of summer. All the farmers are out there making sure their fields are in good condition, right?
Oh, but you're already done planting by then. What else do you have to do?
Spraying, chopping hay,
Yeah, you're harvesting.
Yeah.
getting the winter wheat in.
So you're volunteering for that, Tim?
I
All
don't
right.
think
Anything
so.
else?
Good. If everyone agrees.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
All right. Well, good. I think it's looking pretty good then. I only have a few notes for suggestions. So,
And I'll reach out to the FSA again and see what we can do.
okay. Yeah. I mean, even if it's something where they have the data and we just have to go collect it.
Yep.
That's definitely doable. I mean, you're only going to be doing it once a year at most,
Yep.
So, and
why,
I don't know how you guys,
go ahead.
how do you guys feel about the breakdown of the data? If the smallest geographic area they have is the county, is it still worth keeping track of?
Well, that would lead to a whole nother discussion to determine, what percentage the town of Canandaigua is of Ontario County. And you'd have to,
Well, that would
Way
change
back.
with the data.
it sure
Could change
would.
every year. I don't think you
It
could,
would.
I don't think we could decide to break it down further because then it would just kind of make the data less valid, I think.
I'm trying to recall if they ask what town you're in. I know they asked the county, when they're doing a survey of what the farmers are doing.
Yeah.
But I don't think they break it all the way down to the town.
No, come to think about it, I checked there a few years ago with Ag and Markets, and they just broke it down to the county, not the towns, because I was looking for the number of farms in dairy and so on and so forth, and they didn't have it. Come to think about it.
Yeah.
If we could take a look at the data, we might be able to identify, some of the information, maybe a great portion of the information based on, maybe farm name or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, if part of the data includes the address, then we have it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't know what they'd ask.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to look this over again.
You're very welcome.
Yep, thanks, Sarah.
Is everybody ready for spring?
Yeah.
It's coming next week.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I might be able to see my grass.
It won't be long. It'll be daylight savings time.
Won't be time to be mowing the grass.
It'll come before we're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been pretty lucky this winter, really.
Oh, we have, Bob. No doubt about that.
All right. Well,
I got to go close the chicken coop. So
we'll
everybody-
adjourn. Everyone is all set.
Okay. Next time, did you What did we say? Did you want, Bob, did you say you want to plan on taking a look at the code next time? I can pull it out and I can share it with everybody if so.
Yeah. I think that's what we had talked about.
Sure, makes sense.
You're gonna send,
Have time to prepare it.
you're gonna send it out ahead of time, Sarah?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, it's all online. All I have to do is find the chapter and I can paste the whole thing in an email.
Okay.
Or I can send you guys a link or however you want to receive it. It's
Yeah.
really easy to look through.
Okay.
For those of you who like looking at code and law, it's called eCode. It's this website that organizes all of our town code, and you can click on chapters and it takes you to the individual spots, and there's links and cross-referencing. It's fun.
Okay.
All right.
I second Bob's motion to adjourn.
All right.
We'll see everybody next month.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Take care.
Oh, I
Bye-bye.
have to
care.
mention, I am out of town for the meeting next month. So you may have to fly solo or perhaps, and actually I think Doug's out of town that week too, but as long as you can.
Do
let's
you
see.
want to have it at another time?
We could either change the date or let Fernando set up the Zoom so that he can do it with his account so that you have the screen sharing. Because I don't think you'd be able to do the screen sharing without being the host.
Referrals, Sarah, we're not terribly adept at, doing the
Yeah,
Ontario.
that's true. If there's referrals, then you probably wouldn't want to do it.
Let's
Do
see.
you want to wait and see?
Yeah, let's wait and see till we get a little closer and we can decide.
Because if there were no referrals, I think you guys could just go ahead if you wanted to poke through the code without
Yeah.
me. But
Let's see once we get a little closer.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
Have a good
everybody.
evening,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Talk to you later.